The thing in the snow. The cabin was supposed to be my sanctuary. Tucked deep in the Cascades, miles from the nearest town, it was the perfect escape. Just me, the whispering pines, and the endless white silence of winter. For 3 days it was paradise. Then, on the 4th night, something came knocking. The visitor. The first knock was soft, polite almost. I froze mid-sip of coffee, the steam curling in the cold air. No one knew I was here. No one could be here. The roads were buried under fresh snow, and the nearest neighbor was a 30-minute hike through wolf country. Another knock. I set my mug down, the ceramic clinking unnaturally loud in the stillness. My breath fogged as I crept to the door, my socked feet silent on the hardwood. Through the frosted glass, a silhouette. Tall, too tall. I swallowed hard and opened the door. Cold rushed in, biting my cheeks. The man on the porch stood perfectly still, his face half hidden under a wool hat crusted with ice. His jacket was thick, military-grade, but his boots, they were wrong. Too clean. No snow clung to them, despite the storm. "Lost," he said, his voice like gravel underfoot. "Need directions." His lips didn't move when he spoke. I gave him the quickest route to town, my fingers tightening on the door. He didn't blink, just stared. His eyes were black, pupils swallowing the irises whole. Then he smiled. Too many teeth. I slammed the door. The footprints. I waited, ear pressed to the wood, until I heard his boots crunch away. But when I checked the window, the snow outside was untouched. No footprints. No footsteps. My breath hitched. I told myself I'd imagined it. The eyes, the teeth, the way his voice didn't match his mouth. Then I saw them. Footprints inside the house. Wet, boot-shaped stains leading from the door to the couch where I'd been sitting, where I'd left my coffee. The mug was gone. The second knock. I locked myself in the bedroom, my pulse roaring in my ears. The wind outside had become a scream, rattling the windows like something trying to get in. Then knock, knock, knock. Not the door this time, the wall. Right behind my bed. "Still lost," the voice whispered, so close I felt the words against my neck. "Let me in." I whirled around. The wall bulged as if something was pressing against it from the other side. The wood groaned, nails squeaking as they strained. I grabbed my phone, no signal. The knocking moved, down the hall, to the bathroom. Then silence. I didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then the shower turned on. The police found me 3 hours later, curled in the closet, my nails bloody from clawing at the floor. "Meh!" They said the cabin was empty. No footprints, no broken locks, no sign of anyone. But they didn't check the attic. They didn't hear the scratching above my head as they led me away. And they didn't see what I saw in the rearview mirror as we drove off. A pale face pressed against the attic window. Watching, waiting, smiling. I don't remember much after that night. The police asked me 100 questions, but I couldn't give them answers that made sense. Who did I see? Was it a man? Was it an animal? Was it something else? I didn't know. I still don't. They checked the attic a week later. Nothing but dust and old furniture. They chalked it up to isolation-induced paranoia, told me to rest, maybe see a doctor. I agreed. Anything to make them leave me alone. But the thing is, the nightmares didn't stop. Every night I hear the knocking, not from my door, not from my walls, but from inside my head. It's always the same rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. And the whisper follows. Still lost. Let me in. I moved back to the city, surrounded myself with noise, with people, with bright lights that burned away the darkness. But deep down, I know it's not enough. Because last night I found something strange on my kitchen counter. A coffee mug. My coffee mug. And inside, still steaming, was a cup of black coffee. I don't drink black coffee. I think it found me again. And this time, I don't think it's knocking. I think it's already inside. The Last Stop Diner. I worked the night shift at the Last Stop Diner, a 24-hour joint on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, just a few red booths, a counter with spinning stools, and a buzzing neon sign that barely lit the empty highway outside. Most nights were slow, just a trucker or two grabbing coffee before disappearing into the darkness. That night started like any other. By 2 a.m., the place was deserted except for a single customer, an old man hunched over a plate of cold eggs. He never spoke, just stared at the clock above the register, muttering under his breath. I was wiping down the counter when I saw it. A figure standing outside, just beyond the reach of the neon glow. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, but then it moved, slowly, deliberately, closer. The bell above the door jingled as the figure stepped inside, a man tall, wearing a long rain-soaked coat. His face was hidden under the shadow of his wide-brimmed hat. He didn't sit, didn't speak, just stood there, head tilted slightly as if listening. "Can I help you?" My voice came out shaky. The man turned his head, just a fraction. His coat dripped onto the checkered floor. "Coffee," he rasped. "Black." I nodded and poured the cup, but when I turned back, the old man was gone. I hadn't heard him leave. The plate of eggs sat untouched, a damp $20 bill beside it. Something felt off. The air was thick, heavy, like the moment before a storm. The stranger hadn't moved. He was still staring at something just past me, beyond the counter, into the dark kitchen. Then the lights flickered. A chill crawled up my spine as I forced a smile. "Rough night?" I asked, pushing the coffee toward him. He didn't answer, just lifted his head slightly, and I saw his eyes, hollow, dark, empty sockets where they should have been. My stomach dropped. I stumbled back, knocking over a stack of plates. They shattered, the sound deafening in the quiet diner. The door jingled again. Another figure entered, a woman, her dress soaked, her skin an unnatural shade of pale. She walked straight to the counter, sitting where the old man had been. "Coffee," she whispered. My heart pounded. I wanted to run, to bolt out the back door, but my legs wouldn't move. The man with the empty eyes was still watching, his head tilting more, as if amused. The woman raised a hand, placing something on the counter. A newspaper, yellowed and brittle. My fingers trembled as I unfolded it. The date read April 3rd, 1982. The headline sent ice through my veins. "Diner Massacre Leaves 3 Dead Killer Never Found." I looked up. The woman's lips twisted into a sad smile. The man was gone. So was she. The lights flickered again. I grabbed my keys, my jacket, my sanity, whatever I could, and ran. Out into the night, down the endless road, my breath burning in my chest. I didn't stop until I reached the next town. But it wasn't over. As I leaned against a gas station wall, catching my breath, I noticed my reflection in the station's window. My hands were shaking, my face pale. But something else caught my eye. Behind me in the reflection, the diner was still there, fully lit, buzzing with life. Customers filled the booths, chatting and laughing. The neon sign flickered, but it was bright, welcoming, normal. But then I saw myself. I was still behind the counter, pouring coffee, smiling, talking to customers who weren't really there. I spun around. The lot was empty, just dirt and broken glass where the diner had once stood. I turned back to the window. The other version of me looked up and met my gaze. He smiled, and then he waved. I ran. But no matter how far I go, how many miles I put between me and that cursed lot, I still see it. Sometimes in my dreams, sometimes in reflections. And sometimes late at night, I swear I can smell coffee brewing. 3* title. The Man in the Reflection. I moved into the house on Sycamore Street in early September. It wasn't much, just a modest 2-bedroom rental on the outskirts of town, but it was affordable, and after my last roommate situation turned sour, I was relieved to finally have a place to myself. Try. The first few nights were uneventful. I spent my time unpacking, adjusting to the eerie silence of living alone. The house had a strange, abandoned feel to it, like it had been empty for a long time before I moved in. The air was thick with dust, and no matter how much I cleaned, the place always smelled stale. Then, on the 4th night, I noticed something strange. I was brushing my teeth in the small bathroom when I caught a glimpse of movement in the mirror. It wasn't my own reflection. I had been standing still. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but I could have sworn I saw something shift behind me. I spun around. Nothing. The hallway outside the bathroom was empty. The dim glow of the streetlight outside barely illuminated the narrow space. Still, my heart pounded as I turned back to the mirror, scanning every inch of my reflection. Nothing looked out of place. I shook my head, chalking it up to exhaustion. But then, just as I reached for the light switch, I saw it again. A shadow just behind me, a flicker of something tall, watching. I whirled around so fast I nearly lost my balance. Again, nothing. But I no longer felt alone. That night I lay awake in bed, listening. The house was silent, but my skin prickled with unease. I pulled the blankets tighter around me, trying to convince myself I was being paranoid. And then a soft tap, tap, tap echoed through the darkness. I bolted upright. The sound had come from the bathroom. Holding my breath, I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. My bedroom door was still closed, but something felt off. The air was heavier, colder. I hesitated, then slowly pushed off the covers and crept toward the door. With shaky hands, I turned the knob and stepped into the hallway. My bare feet touched the cold hardwood floor as I inched toward the bathroom. The door was open, just a crack, the mirror inside reflecting the faint light from my phone. I nudged the door open. The bathroom was empty. I exhaled sharply, laughing at myself. "You're being ridiculous," I muttered, stepping forward to turn off the light. Then I saw it. My reflection wasn't moving. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. In the mirror, my reflection stood, staring at me, unblinking, lips parted slightly as if whispering something I couldn't hear. My stomach clenched with nausea. And then slowly, it raised its hand. I didn't move, but my reflection did. It waved. I stumbled backward, my phone slipping from my grasp. The screen hit the floor, casting erratic beams of light around the bathroom. My heart slammed against my ribs as I scrambled to pick it up. When I looked back at the mirror, it was just me. Shaking, I ran back to my room, locking the door behind me. I barely slept that night, every time I closed my eyes I saw it, the reflection that wasn't mine. The next day I called the landlord. "Has anyone ever complained about the mirrors in this house?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then, in a measured tone, he said, "Why do you ask?" I swallowed. "I just thought I saw something." A longer pause. The last tenant broke all the mirrors before he left. A chill shot down my spine. "What? Why?" He exhaled sharply. "Look, I wasn't going to say anything, but if you're asking," he swore he kept seeing someone else in the reflection. He said it wasn't his own. I clenched the phone tighter. "Did he ever say what it wanted?" Another long pause. Then the landlord's voice came back, quieter. He said it smiled at him. A pit formed in my stomach. My reflection had waved. I hung up and immediately covered every mirror in the house. The unease never went away. The feeling of being watched never faded. Every so often, I'd catch something moving in the reflection of my phone screen, the dark outline of someone just behind me. One night, I woke to a tap, tap, tap on my bedroom mirror. It was covered, but I knew something was waiting behind it. I left the house that night and never went back. The landlord never questioned why I broke the lease, and I didn't care. I just knew I couldn't stay, because whatever was in that mirror had started to smile.